this is going to feel uncomfortably personal. And if it does, and that's the point, you've been working hard. You know you have. The hours are there, the calendar is full. You're up before most people and still staring at the screen after the rest of the world has gone quiet. Somewhere between your third coffee and your 17th open browser tab, you've started to wonder, why isn't it adding up? Here's what the world around you believes. Effort is linear. Hours in equals output out. If you're not where you want to be, the equation is simple. You just haven't worked hard enough yet. So grind more. Sleep less, do more. Fill every minute like your life. Is a jar in time. Is the only thing worth pouring into it. But at Stanford, researcher named John Pencavel analyzed hundreds of workers across thousands of hours of data. And what he found should stop you completely cold. After 55 hours of work per week, your actual measurable output drops to nearly zero. You could log 70 hours and produce almost exactly the same as someone who worked 55. This is not an exaggeration. The numbers are brutal and they are public. You're not working hard. You're performing hard work. And your brain, your own beautifully evolved, deeply irrational brain, is giving you a standing ovation. In this video, we're going to pull apart exactly how that happens. First, the labor illusion and why your brain rewards. The sensation of effort instead of the result of it. Second, Parkinson's law, the invisible. Psychological force quietly destroying your real output every single day. And third, the output test. 3 questions that separate someone genuinely building something from someone who is just spectacularly good at looking busy. Stay with me, because by the end of this, the way you think about your entire workday is going to shift. It's Tuesday evening, you're at your desk, and technically you have been working for 6 hours. But here's what actually happened. You spent the first 40 minutes finding the perfect productivity system. You downloaded an app, watched a video about Notion templates, and reorganized your desktop into color-coded folders that will never actually be used. Then you rewrote your to-do list twice. The second version was color-coded too. Then you opened your actual project file, stared at it for 11 minutes, decided your workspace felt cluttered, and cleaned everything on your desk before you could think properly. By 11 p.m., when you finally close your laptop, there's this dull, heavy, familiar sensation. You put in the time, the day was full. Your screen time report barely shows any social media. In your chest, there's something that feels like satisfaction. But nothing was built. Nothing moved. Nothing shipped. And here's the thing that makes this genuinely terrifying. This isn't laziness. It isn't a lack of motivation. It isn't a character flaw hiding beneath the surface. You wanted to work. You tried to work. You genuinely believed in real time that you were working. This is something else entirely. In 2011, Michael Norton, Daniel Moshon, and Dan Ariely ran a deceptively simple experiment at Harvard. That quietly rewrote how psychologists think about human motivation. They split participants into 2 groups. Group 1 received a fully assembled IKEA storage box. Built, finished, ready to use. Group 2 was handed the exact same box in pieces and told to build it themselves. Same parts, same quality, same box. Then they asked both groups one question. How much would you pay for this right now? The people who built it themselves valued it nearly 5 times, higher than those who received it already done. 5 times, for an identical object. Norton called it the IKEA effect. But the truly dangerous part, the part that nobody talks about, is what happens when we apply this same bias not to furniture, but to our own workdays. When you've spent 6 hours doing something, even 6 hours of color-coded folders and rewritten to-do lists and reorganized desktops, your brain logs that effort as evidence of value. It cannot cleanly separate I worked hard from I produced something real. The sensation of busyness becomes the internal substitute for the proof of progress. And the more exhausted you feel at the end of the day, the more convinced your brain becomes that something significant must have happened. Exhaustion has quietly become its own reward signal. Your brain is being hacked by itself every single day. But the labor illusion is only the foundation. Because what makes it truly destructive isn't the illusion on its own. It's the invisible law that lives behind it. And that law has been hiding in plain sight since 1955. Cyril Northcote Parkinson was a British naval historian. In 1955, he published an essay in The Economist that was so disquieting that editors initially assumed it had to be satire. His observation was this: work expands to fill the time available for its completion. He wasn't writing about personal productivity. He was watching governments grow, entire bureaucratic departments that existed for no reason other than to fill the hours they'd been allocated. They generated reports no one read. They held meetings no one needed. They produced motion without any movement whatsoever. But here's what Parkinson couldn't have fully anticipated. He was also describing you on a Tuesday in front of a laptop. If you give yourself 8 hours to complete a task that realistically takes 3, you will, without a single conscious decision, fill those 8 hours. You'll add complexity that doesn't need to be there. You'll revisit decisions you'd already made correctly. You'll refine things that were already good enough. You'll wait until you feel more ready. And at the end of 8 hours, you'll be more tired. But the task will be only marginally better than it would have been at hour 3. Now combine that with what Pencavel found at Stanford. The productivity curve doesn't just flatten. After 55 hours per week and it collapses. Those extra 15, 20 hours you're adding to prove your commitment, they are generating almost no measurable additional output. You're not working more. You're spending more hours inside Parkinson's trap, the expanded, comfortable, self-affirming illusion of busyness. So here's the question almost nobody asks. What would you do if you only had 4 hours today? Most people, when the clock is real and the constraint is forced, suddenly discover a remarkable thing. The meeting that needed an hour finishes in 12 minutes. The email that took 3 days to draft gets sent in 6. The project that's been almost ready for 2 weeks ships in an afternoon. The constraint isn't the punishment. The constraint is the truth. But knowing about Parkinson and Stanford still won't protect you. Because the final piece, the one that actually breaks the cycle permanently, isn't a time management trick at all. It's 3 questions. Cal Newport is a computer science professor at Georgetown University. In his book Deep Work, he made an observation that virtually no one in the productivity industry has been willing to say clearly. Busyness is a proxy for productivity, in the absence of clear indicators of actual contribution. Read that again slowly. When we don't have a concrete, measurable way to prove that we matter. To our bosses, to our clients, to ourselves, we substitute visible effort for actual output. We stay late so people can see the dedication. We send emails at midnight to signal that we're serious. We pack our calendars until there's not a single gap, because empty space feels emotionally like failure. And Newport's deepest insight is this. Knowledge work, the kind most of us do, produces no physical artifact. You can hold and count at the end of the day. A factory worker sees the units off the line. A surgeon counts the completed procedures. But you sitting at a laptop have no equivalent. And in that vacuum, your brain defaults to the one metric it can actually feel. Time spent and stress generated. So here's the output test. 3 questions. Answer them honestly once a day before you open a single tab. Question 1. What is the one thing, the single specific deliverable, that if completed today, would make this day genuinely productive? Not a list of 6 things. One thing. The thing that actually moves the needle. Name it. Question 2. How will you know it's done? What does complete actually look like in concrete terms? Because without a real definition of done, Parkinson's law will drive the car until you've run completely out of road. Question 3. And this is the one that stings. Is what you're about to do right now that thing? If the answer is no, you are not working. You are performing. And your brain will reward you for it anyway, which is precisely the problem. There's something quietly devastating about the image of someone who is genuinely trying, who wakes up early, who opens the laptop, who fills the hours, moves things around, stays later than everyone else, closes the laptop exhausted and believes completely sincerely that they gave everything today. They did give everything, just not to the thing that mattered. This isn't a discipline failure. It isn't weakness. It's the fact that your brain was never designed for knowledge work. It was built for a world where effort was physical and completion was visible. That's where you could hold the thing you'd made, feel the weight of it, know with absolute certainty that the hunt was over. It knew what a finished shelter looked like. It has no idea what a finished creative project looks like, or a finished strategy, or a finished life plan. So it manufactures the feeling of completion through motion, through fullness, through exhaustion. But you are not your brain's performance. The output test isn't meant to make you feel inadequate. It's meant to give back what busyness culture quietly took from you. The ability to tell the difference between effort and progress, between motion and movement, between performing your life and actually building it. So the next time you reach the end of a long, full, exhausting day, before you decide whether it was a good one, ask yourself just one thing. Did anything real get built? Because the greatest waste in human history has never been laziness. It's been effort pointed at the wrong thing.